Okay guys, in this video we are going to look at creating a logical data model inside InnoSphere Data Architect. Guys, in order to create the logical data model, we go to File, New. What you will note from here is that we don't have one that directly, it says the logical data model, but we are going to work with a data design project, because the logical model will be then placed in there. So when it opens up our logic dialog, it asks us, what do we want to name our data design project? Because we are creating some structure. I'm going to say product database, product DB. So you will see now it has just created some blank structure really for us. There is no information yet in here. So if I try and expand all of this, there's nothing in it. Okay, guys, in order to create the logical data model, we can right click on the logical data models and go to new logical data model. We are not really going to change information here. If you want to later on work with different versions of data models, you can go to the file name and specify version numbers and so. But we are just going to say finish for now. Okay. Guys, what you will now see is it has created for us a diagram with a package, and underneath it we have diagrams and diagram 1. Okay. So what we can see from here is we can go and change our package name, because that will later on can translate to your schema name. Okay, so I made my product DB. That can be dependent on your problem area you are modeling. Now what you will notice here on our right hand side we have the palette, which gives us the entities, some generalization ability, relationships and so on, in order to model those in our logical data model. Now to add an entity, I'm going to click on entity, and I'm going to come over to my diagrams white space, and I'm just going to click and it will ask me the name of my entity. Okay. So if I type in the name, it will be captured in there, and you'll see also here in the property view at the bottom, it captured the name. So while we're on that, we can start to look at the various other properties which we can adjust. Later on, we might have some generalization where we state what is a supertype or what will be the subtype and what is the key field possibly between it. If we also go to attributes, we can create new attributes, and we can add, for example, in an employee number. Now from there we will see, okay, the employee number can possibly become a primary key or even a surrogate key. We can even change the data type for our field. But as it's a logical data model, we are not really yet working with data types and even the precision. You can state if it's required or not, but in this case, because it's a primary key, it is required. Okay, guys, so we can add a bit more. Name and so on. Okay, there is some attributes for our employee. If we would like to create some generalization, we can go again to entity and add a child. Let's say designer. And some of the attributes for our designer can possibly be his qualification and years of experience. Now, we would like to create the generalization. I can hover my mouse over the design and drag the cursor to the employee and say create generalization. That's one way of doing this. You will see it's now taking my primary key on the employee to the designer as a field which is creating the relationship, and it's placing the employee number in as a foreign key. Now that's one way of doing it. I'll quickly remove it, and then I'll show you to do it from the palette. Now, in order to do it from a palette, I can also click on Generalization and click on Employee and drag my cursor to Designer. You'll see now it's been created incorrectly. So to create it correctly, we are going to do the same. I'm going to take Designer and so we're going from the child to the parent. So in this case, we have created our relationship, but the generalization relationship. You can also move it that it looks a bit nicer. What you will also note is that if we'd like to add other entities, we can just go to the side and add more. Let's say we want to have a product, and the product contains some information. The product ID, its description, the type, the price, and quantity. Now, if we have a relationship between the designer and the product, and the designer designs one or more products, but a product is designed by only one designer. What we can have from this is we can go look at our palette and we can start to take our relationships from here. Now, in order to do this, I can also go to the designer, because that's from where my one side is, which is migrating to the product. Okay, so this primary key is going to also migrate as a foreign key inside the product, because we have a one-to-many relationship. Okay, so I'm going to go from the designer to the product and say, but now you will see it's giving me some options. What do we want to do? We can have identifying foreign key or non-identifying. But if we selected identify foreign key, it's going to take our identifier with employee number and also make an identifier for the product. But that's not always what we want, because the product ID is the identifier really for the product. Okay. So how do we now change that employee number is not there? We can go and click on the line or relationship and go to its properties, and we can go to the type of line, and I can change some information here to change it to non-identifying or identify. Now what you'll note, identify means that our foreign key which comes over is placed as part of the identifier to this entity, or non-identifying just means that my foreign key just comes over as a normal attribute to create a relationship. Now we can then also talk about optional and mandatory, and you can even go and change the cardinality. If some problem occurs and we wanna remove it, if I just click delete and click on something and I click delete, it's gone, but it's not totally gone. You will see from our project here on the left hand side, my design is still there. If I drag it in again, it's still here. In order to get it totally away, to delete it fully, I can right click and go to delete from model. And in this case, it's now going to ask me, what do I also want to do with the relationships which was created due to designer? Are we going to remove the child in the product? Are we deleting this? What are we doing with these? So there's some options that you may need to consider, but that depends on your selection of entity or relationship which you are removing. So I hope this was helpful. You must enjoy the rest of the day.